Vintage memorabilia. Do you have stuff in the basement or the attic that might be worth a lot of money? Bet you do. Welcome to Cool Collectibles. I'm Gabe Spiegel, your host. Glad to be with you today with Tom and Joe Brode, the experts in this industry. And the more they talk, the less I feel I know. They are the pros, they're the experts. And maybe a lot of you feel the same way. Like, how much do you think this Afghanistan bank signed by the guy who took out Osama bin Laden? How much do you think that would be worth? Whoa, it's an autograph by Robert O'Neill, PSA DNA certified. Who knows? These guys know. I don't. But you guys, you talk to collectors from all over at your shops there at the Great Northern Mall, Belden Village Mall, in Canton, and North Homestead. Is it true, like, the more seasoned collector really goes for the vintage item? Tom, you're the expert in this area.
Well, if you have any knowledge in the hobby, or a knowledge that you want to get into the hobby, yes, you want the vintage items. You want items that are always going to be, they're going to marinate very well for you, okay? Because new stuff, everybody has it. You can't always find the old vintage stuff.
Right.
So, like, for instance, that piece right there. So, somebody, and it's all about making your item into an asset. So, you took that raw money,
a $50 bill.
Then you had Robert O'Neill come in, autograph that item. Okay, then you could just set that. No, you wanted to take that, and now you put it in a holder, and it's been certified by one of the best companies in the game, PSA. Now you made it into an asset. Now you can always one-up that asset too. So you take it from there. It's a great asset, or you can also take that and frame it with a photo of something that matches the item, and now you even got a better asset. So it's about making money on your money. So
how much something like this worth?
Well, you could take that item there, and let's just say, you're into the autograph, you're into the item at $300. So then you send that to get it, encapsulated. So that might have cost you $100.
Okay.
So now you're into that at $400. And then you could say, hey, I want to make this a really cool asset, which is a one-of-a-kind piece. And then so you frame that potentially, with an item, and now it might be, a $2,000 item, depending on how you display it. And you make it highly collectible. So
I bet there's a story there.
Yeah,
Getting this guy an autograph signing. I bet you might have a few Secret Service guys protecting this guy. Right?
They cannot, like, when that guy comes to do his autograph signings, they cannot announce the time that he'll be signing.
Wow.
It just shows up because there's so much security. He's been shown up to events and had death threats and, all those things because of who he is and what he did.
You guys have a lot of experience, because I can't imagine how many folks come in with all sorts of items. And one of the biggest things that you look for is clearly the quality, the encasing, that kind of stuff. Walk me through what people really need to know about that kind of stuff when it comes to quality of vintage.
Well, when it comes to quality of vintage, condition is everything. So, there's ways to make your items definitely worth more money than, you got to protect them. And then
water damage, the biggest factor a lot of times?
Water damage, smoke damage.
Smoke damage?
Because you got to remember how many people smoked back in the day.
Yo.
So this is what makes your collectibles actually worth something. How many dad stories have you heard about the spike, the sports cars going in the bike spokes? You got to think of all the stuff. When my dad, when he got married to my mom, he burned his sports cards. So he got rid of all of his Mickey Mantle cards.
Oh!
And he regretted it years later. So you got to remember, all those stories is why items are worth what they are now. There's less of them on the market.
You mentioned Mickey Mantle. Folks, they have it all, honestly, at prime time. Look at this. I can't believe you're allowing me to hold this because I'm accident prone. Mickey Mantle. Best wishes, Mickey Mantle, a signed portrait. Are you kidding me? That is so cool. Let me pull this out of the way here. Let's get a better look at that.
And the coolest thing about it is that grade 9. Yeah.
Grade 9. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh, see, I'm learning.
You are.
Joe's
that
taught
was
me
the
a
first
lot.
thing you picked out.
Joe's taught me a lot.
I was impressed.
But this is I would imagine a one of a kind item. Maybe you have a handful in the whole world.
So everything's uniquely different. You got when it comes to autographs, you got to see where he signed the item, how clean it is, what kind of item it is that it's on, and then like there's like pop ones and different things like that based on grades. So yeah, I mean right now, I mean that's probably the only one that exists in the world signed just like that and that same, on that photo. That's a vintage photo from early days when Mantle played. And autographs you can tell usually of a plain autograph versus a modern autograph. So a plain day autograph is worth more money than a modern autograph.
Oh.
So like for instance, Mickey Mantle, for instance, when he was playing, he would sign his autograph, one particular way, and then at the end of his career, leading into retirement, he might sign it bigger. There might be something that's different about it that made it worth less because they knew, in the autograph business that he wasn't playing at that time.
This has got to be worth at least $100.
Yeah, definitely at least $100. No, that's I mean, believe it or
I can't
not,
believe I'm holding it right now.
yeah, that's I think the last completed sale of something similar to that, was about $1,500 on eBay.
1,500.
But that's
I would think it'd be more.
I said similar to that.
Oh.
But see, the difference was that graded 9 is what makes that item worth so much money, because
Okay.
a grade, highest grade you can get's a 10. So that item's probably a $5,000 item because of the grade.
5,000.
Because of the grade.
Because of the grade.
Because it shows how
Whoa.
clean it is, crisp. It didn't have any sun damage, light damage. Because, back in the day, how many people sit at the flea markets and yard sales, swap meets? They put all their stuff out there for sale, and all that light just hits on it, dulls it out. So
Would you sell that to someone for 5,000?
Yeah, I would.
You would?
I would sell it.
So if I buy it for 5,000 from you, and 10, 15 years from now, it's going to be worth
It's definitely going to be. It's going to be worth
7,500.
Probably about $8,000.
$8,000 in 10
Probably
years.
about $8,000.
See what I'm talking about, folks? This is investing.
And as the hobby grows, you got to remember a lot of people that collected those things, are they're not collecting so much anymore either. But it takes the right young person to really cherish the value of those things, to actually want to go out there and collect those things because,
Hard to find.
You want to know something that really chaps these guys, their elbows, chaps their elbows? The fact that tickets aren't being sold anymore because these were priceless and they still are. And now I would imagine they're worth even more since everything's digital on your phone and all that kind of stuff. Check out this little beaut. This was from 2018. It's the Angels versus the Cleveland Indians at
Imagine
Angel
that.
Stadium. And this is Tuesday, April 3rd. And this was, sorry about that, Shohei Ohtani's first home run, first major league home run. Wow, that's a vintage item.
You see, there's a grade on there too. You see that graded 8?
Graded
So they
8.
grade tickets. Because you know how many people put a ticket in their pocket and folded it up?
Right.
Think about that.
So, what do you think if you look at this vintage item? What knocked it down from a 10? I mean, it looks pretty pristine to me. What do you think may have knocked it down from a 10 to an 8?
It could be like the coloring, like it could be like the print. Like for instance, like when your printers are, when they start running out of ink, got a little dollar. That could be, obviously a lot of your tickets that you see have people staple them to a program, so that helped it because it wasn't stapled to a program.
Ah,
So
Albert Pujols, is that
and
my
and
Mike
eight,
Trout
and
there?
8 is probably a strong grade as well. So,
8 still good.
It's still really good.
What's considered
If
good
you
then?
got,
Anything?
If you got a 10, that's probably a $10,000 item. Because they don't exist very, very many.
Wow. So what do you think this goes for?
So that
first time
that
Shohei
there
jacked
being
one.
an 8, I mean you're probably around $1,000.
$1,000. Super cool though for a $20 ticket. Not autographed. No, just a vintage item.
Vintage item.
If that was autographed.
Yeah.
By any of the
Stick
guys.
to the
huh?
first Super Bowl ticket stubs. If you had a first ticket stub to the very first Super Bowl in good great condition, it's a $100,000 item.
Hey, they don't make tickets anymore.
And they
Or
don't make
do
tickets.
they? Can you get some printed out by your teams?
Nope.
What are you thinking? Bring them back. Collectors love this kind of stuff. Here's the guy who was working at the grocery store, and then 2-3 years later he's in the Super Bowl.
To the Hall of Fame too.
Hall of Fame. What a story. That's mint 9. I can't get my mint 9. Tell me about this card. What's something like this? This is in a case, but it's also in a plastic wrapper here. That's pretty cool stuff. Huh?
That's just a cool vintage card. It's not really vintagey, but you know what? It really is when you start thinking about the years, because time just flies by so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to 1999. I mean, that was how many years ago was that?
That's 27 years ago.
I can't even do the math anymore. You know what I mean? But
I can tell you what this one's worth here. This is who is this? This is Calvin.
Calvin
Johnson. I think this one's worth about $100.
Is it a 10?
10 out of 10.
yeah, 10 out of 10.
I think it's worth about 100.
So during COVID, I guarantee
I'm an expert now, folks. You know,
it would've
because there's a
been
price tag on the
probably,
back. That's how I knew. Do you see that right there?
Yeah, price tag.
Don't give Gabe toys. But seriously, if you're looking for is there a trend right now in vintage? We were talking a little off camera. Legos. You're seeing a trend in the Legos. Vintage anything, not just sports cards, but let's talk sports cards too. Is there a trend in vintage? Maybe you can find an old batting helmet that's roughed up, but it's game worn and it's autographed by the whole team. Or maybe a bat. Or maybe vintage jerseys that clearly you're not going to get one that Babe Ruth. That jersey was here in Cleveland just a couple years ago. I know we did a story on it. The Babe Ruth signed jersey. Still in pretty good condition, too. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
Well, the good thing, the craziest thing is just think about as you have a game-used item, and then they'd make game-used jersey cards now. So that means there's less and less full jerseys out there. That's what makes the items so much valuable. Versus, as they cut up those items for the trading cards, I mean, there's less and less out there.
Do you have a favorite vintage item that you've invested in that you're willing to share with our audience?
Yeah, another show. We'll bring out the Ernie Davis contract.
Whoa! He mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but Ernie Davis signed.
I have the Holy Grail, that we'll bring out with some other contracts. We have the Ernie Davis Holy Grail signed contract. Only first one. When Leland's auction house knew I had it, they said that's the Holy Grail. So they wanted it for their auction house.
And?
I still have it. That's a collectible that who can say they actually have Ernie Davis' signed contract?
No one.
Even
Just
an
you.
autograph.
Yeah.
That's
and you know where we could bring it exclusively to? Fox. Why not, right?
You don't have to twist my arm. That sounds good to me, Tom. You might be surprised by what the old Chief Wahoo bobbleheads are going for. We're going to have that coming up after this short break. Also, we have a Hall of Fame mystery box that we're going to share with you after we take a quick breather. We'll be right back. Can you take an old item, an old vintage item, and restore it? And what about that old Chief Wahoo, the old Chief Wahoo bobblehead? What's it worth? Welcome back to Cool Collectibles. I'm Gabe, Tom, Joe here. These guys know it all. I'm putting you on the pedestal where you two deserve to be.
But we have knowledge.
You were breaking down earlier the Chief Wahoo bobblehead. This is something that a lot of Indians, Guards fans might not be aware of. These things are valuable.
So
what are we talking about? The old Chief Wahoo bobblehead.
So there's the old vintage ones that obviously that everybody loves. There's different shades of colors that make them extremely valuable. You really got to know the faces. There's the different color faces that really separate the bobbleheads as well. But I collect 3-foot bobbleheads.
3 foot.
So, yep, 3 foot. And the Chief Wahoo 3-foot bobbleheads are extremely valuable, extremely collectible. And they sell for about $10,000 on the market. Now, I will tell you, mine...
Did you say 10,000?
10,000. The same one my wife bought at the store for $500.
The 3-footers.
The 3-footers.
Okay.
Back when they, were still the Indians. Okay, and the team shop. Now you can't find them because a lot of them were destroyed. But I will tell you that if you offered me $20,000, I wouldn't sell you mine.
Wow.
So,
That's the 3-foot. What about the smaller ones? If you have
the
one that's
small
in
ones-
let's say mint condition still, you had it in a box, but it's been in the man
some of
cave.
those are anywhere between $500 to $5,000.
Whoa!
So they're it all varies on condition and
The box
different
condition with those too.
Well, no, with the box they're even worth more.
Yeah.
because the box are more highly collectible than the item because there's less of them out there.
Now they're kind of. And correct me if I'm
it's
wrong,
complicated.
but you have the the smiley,
Yeah.
cartoony Chief Wahoo. Then you have the old school, like looks a little more vintage, like kind of grinny. That's the old school.
And then you've got the different
logo.
color feet, the paint, and like you'll have green and you'll have gray, and then you'll have like the toes, pumped up. I mean, there's a lot of variables.
Is there a price difference between the the
yeah.
newer Chief Wahoo that you always had here versus the more traditional Indian?
So when they changed their team and they got rid of Chief Wahoo, instantly, a $30 bobblehead was like $250.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And like,
Wow.
so it's just one of those. Now they've come back a little bit, but the value's still there
Right.
to the right collector, and everybody loves the Chief Wahoo bobblehead. It's historical. I mean, it's definitely it's what I know when I grew up. It's what I collect. So.
I hear rumors that they might end up going back to that name. What do you think about that?
I mean,
Have you heard?
I would be all.
Have you
in.
heard that? I've heard
I
it.
have
I don't
not,
know if
but
it's
I've
gonna-
heard that there's always a lot of rumblings and why
Sure.
this, why that. New ownership, who knows? A lot of things can happen.
Yeah, well, we'll have the story for you if it
For
does.
sure.
Oh, restoring vintage items. I have a 2002 Ohio State National Championship picture. I'm actually in it because I was on the field during it. And I got an autograph by Maurice Hall, running back at the time with Maurice Claret. And I had it down the basement, and now this picture, which is actually about 2.5, 3 feet long, got some water damage in the back corner of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, should I throw this away? It's autographed. I was like, it's too close to my heart. Can you restore something like that? Clearly, as a fan, I want to save it and keep it. But if I'm a collector, and I got an autograph, can you restore something like that? I mean, it's a wooden kind of frame picture. Does it affect? Does it matter? If I'm not going to sell it clearly, I can keep it.
Yeah, you can restore it if you're not looking to resell. I'd recommend you can restore it. If it keeps your ease at mind, or if you don't want to restore it, and depending on the water damages, we can create a custom frame for that piece. So like we could put a 3D logo or write a saying or design something to hide that water spot, but she'll show off the autograph as well.
Oh.
So there's different ways around that we can do that for collectors as well. But if you're looking for the resale value of an item that you're trying to restore, a vintage item, it's a gray area, because people want the original item. So, but they also appreciate that is restored, so we can keep the longevity of the item. So it's just, again, it's whoever wants to collect it.
Like a perfect example, old municipal stadium. Remember all those seats in
Yeah.
there?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you got to remember all those seats that got taken out of there.
Yep.
Legally, unlegally, however they got them, whatever, they're in people's collections. They're all different. Like some of them are original, and then some people took yellow paint and painted them to make them like nice, shiny. Like that seat painted's $100. No, in the hobby, but that seat not painted, it's $1,000.
Wow.
So because it was never restored, everybody likes the uniqueness of the bubble gum on the back of it, and a lot of times the more bubble gum, the more it's worth.
I remember that old stadium, and I can't share a couple of stories, but they were, that's the
But yes,
memories. taking you back.
restoring old vintage items, there's some good and some bad to it. So
So it can be done. Besides that, we were talking about some trending vintage items. Joe, you were saying Legos. Some Legos are off the charts now. Give me some trending vintage items that some folks might be like, I never thought about that.
Yeah, so you got Legos. You have vintage clothing, vintage toys.
Levi's jeans,
Unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Levi's jeans?
Levi jeans that we wore back in the day.
Yeah.
You
What
could
about
buy
Tuskins
you
from
could buy a
Sears?
car with some of the Levi jeans we used to wear. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
What?
Yeah.
With holes?
With holes. Unbelievable.
Bleached out, a little thing?
More holes the better.
Levi's jeans?
More
Yeah.
holes the better.
But
Yeah.
and then you got the purse aspect too, the vintage purses. Those are really taken off.
Like Coach purses,
Coach purses, you got
Gucci,
Gucci,
Louis
Cartier,
Vuitton.
Hermes, Prada, the long laundry list of all the designers.
Can you tell the difference between those and fake? Do you know the tricks? I mean, because there's a lot of fakes out there. That's got to be tough
There's
for you.
definitely a lot of
Yes,
fakes, yes.
Yeah.
But you know the tricks.
Well, we know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So purses, what else? Any other vintage items that you can think of that really are kind of starting to trend now that
Well, outside of
Sure.
memorabilia and cards.
what about movie stuff? I know you're
Yeah,
big into movie memorabilia.
Yeah, movie props, original props and original I don't know. There's what I think when McDonald's first started giving out toys. Like if you have an original toy in great condition, and they started the Happy Meals, like that's taken off. Just,
McDonald's toys
Yeah.
from the 1980s?
yeah, the original toy. I mean, it's just the weirdest things have taken off.
Well, hey, take it in. Go talk to the experts there at Primetime Sports and Framing. They have everything. They have including, it's not just old stuff. They have like new school stuff that is going to be worth a lot of money one day. Like I just found this. Fernando Mendoza. You have what a lot of folks would call an abbreviated autograph.
Yes.
What the heck is that?
Yeah, so Fernando Mendoza, just to give you an example, he has 2 autographs. He has abbreviated autograph where he gives you an F and an M. Then he has a long autograph, which is more valuable because to me, it's more collectible and it's beautiful penmanship. But he gives you an F and then the Mendoza last name.
So this is the half price version, is what you're telling me?
Well, I mean,
I'll give you
yes
my
and no.
initials.
Yeah, yes and no. But and then also you got a guy like we did Mansour Delane a couple weeks ago. He has 2 autographs. So he signs Mansour, and then he also signs Soar on some items. Why? He just picks and chooses what items he wants to do.
I got to get in there and see you guys. I'm going to be there this weekend because I know you guys got lots of cool stuff. Oh, Mike Tyson. His stuff's still pretty hot, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot
His
of
stuff's still extremely hot. You know, I was at a show. It's funny because he walked in, did photo ops, and typically photo op, no big deal. Well, it just so happens he did this one photo op and decided to take his shirt off.
Oh,
Everybody said they would have bought a photo op if they would have known he was taking his shirt off. It
Why-
just was crazy.
what got into him? What
I don't know.
he just felt the moment.
I think he was training for the Jake Paul fight.
Yes.
And so he was in really good shape, and so everybody's like really pumped up about the event, and then it was the
So,
autograph signing
yeah.
was around
You've heard the
that
stories
time,
about that fight, haven't you? You've heard the stories about that fight. Don't get me going about that because I got suckered into watching it and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
so did I. I lost $100.
Did you really?
On a friendly bet, you know what I
come
mean?
on,
I took
man.
Tyson, right?
Upsets
Who
me.
takes Tyson, right?
So, a lot of you collectibles, a lot of you rookies out there, me included, have the hard to shop for person in your life. Well, they even have Hall of Fame mystery boxes. What'd you say? Somebody say it. You didn't say mystery box, did you? Yeah, you did. You know you're gonna the gong. I'm sorry, but it's my little piece of joy. That's all it is. So these mystery boxes are about $125 at your shops there. Can you buy these online too?
You can buy them online, and you can find them on eBay Live.
eBay Live, you have the mystery boxes?
Yes, we do.
And we just pulled, the odds of me being a big Jose Canseco fan, we just pulled the Jose
what were the
Canseco
odds of
trip.
that one, right?
That was awesome. So this is the Hall of Fame mystery box. And so 125, you never know what you're going to get.
But you're
every
guaranteed a
single-
Hall of Famer.
But you're guaranteed a Hall of Famer, and it's going to be prices. I'm going to do the honors this time. They've already pre-opened it. Oh,
Boom.
okay, what do we got here?
That's Jen.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there you go.
1991.
The kicker from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Jen Sturad.
Kicker from the Chiefs.
Stenaroof.
Boom! How about that?
Juan Stenaroof.
Autographed. I would race in there and get this framed up by these guys. They do awesome work. This is fantastic. You guys, thank you again for coming in and doing this. Where can we find you on social media? Where can we find you in person?
Facebook, Primetime Sports, and Instagram and TikTok, PT Framing 12, and find us on eBay Live and eBay Primetime Sports Framing.
This eBay Live auction stuff is a lot of fun.
Yeah, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
can also get us at the Cool Collectibles on Fox 8.
the CLE Plus app right here. Hey, we're all on Instagram. Make sure you give us a follow and email us at coolcollectibles@fox8.com. Send us your pictures, what you want us to take a look at. The experts will give you a gander and tell you what it's worth. We'll do it right here on Cool Collectibles. Until then, we'll see you next time.